So, Microsoft just dropped a new AI system called Optim. And look, I know what you're thinking. Another model, right? But this one is different. We're not talking about a chatbot. We're talking about a specialized tool that's targeting a massive hidden bottleneck that slows down the entire global economy. I mean, seriously? What's the hardest part of running a massive global operation? It's optimization. In a world with just staggering complexity, how do you make the absolute best decision every single time when you're juggling thousands, maybe even millions of different variables? That right there is the billion-dollar question that companies grapple with every day. For a long time now, we've had these incredibly powerful mathematical programs called solvers that can just crunch the numbers on these huge problems. But here's the thing, the solver itself isn't the bottleneck. The real problem, the part that slows everything down, is translating a messy, human description of a business need into the rigid, perfect code that a machine can actually understand. And this slide just perfectly illustrates that gap. On the left, you've got a normal business goal written in plain English. On the right, you have what the computer needs to see. And let me tell you, getting from the left side to the right side is a brutal, manual, and super error-prone process. It usually takes a team of very specialized and very expensive experts weeks to get it right. It is the single biggest barrier to unlocking that next level of efficiency. And that is precisely where Microsoft's Optims comes into the picture. It was built from the ground up to be that missing link. Think of it as a world-class AI translator designed to instantly bridge that huge gap between what a business wants and what the math actually requires. So here's the crucial part. Optim doesn't just give you a theory or an explanation. No, it takes your business problem written out in plain language and it spits out the actual, runnable Python code you need to solve it. This is a huge deal. It's basically like having an expert data scientist on call 24/7, ready to tackle your hardest problems. And you never have to write a single line of that complex solver code yourself. Okay, so how does it actually pull this off? Well, the secret sauce here isn't just about building a bigger, more powerful model. The real magic is in a combination of some really clever architecture and, honestly, an almost obsessive focus on the quality of its training data. Now, let's peek under the hood, because these specs are pretty interesting. It's a beefy 20 billion parameter model, but it uses what's called a mixture of experts architecture. So instead of one giant brain trying to do everything, it's more like a team of specialists. This makes it way more efficient. And that massive 128,000 token context window, absolutely vital. Real-world business problems are long and have tons of details, and the model needs to remember all of it at once. But maybe the craziest part, Microsoft released it under a full MIT license. It is truly open source for anyone to use and build on. This quote, straight from Microsoft's own paper, gets right to the heart of their big breakthrough. They figured out that the existing data sets people were using to train AIs on these problems were, well, a mess. They were often flawed, ambiguous, or sometimes just plain wrong. And if you train a model on bad data, you just teach it to make the same mistakes, only faster. So what did they do? Instead of just using that flawed data, they decided to build a better data set from scratch. They came up with this brilliant multi-step cleaning process. First, they sorted problems into 53 different types. Then they brought in human experts to figure out where the AI was consistently messing up for each type. Then those experts wrote specific hints on how to fix those common mistakes. Finally, they used those expert hints to systematically clean up and regenerate the entire training set. They basically created a gold standard library for the AI to learn from. And all of that hard work on the data directly shapes how the model thinks. When you give Optima a new problem, it's not just taking a wild guess. First, it classifies it. It figures out which of those 53 types it is. Then, it pulls up that expert-written cheat sheet specifically for that kind of problem. And only then, with that expert guidance, does it generate the reasoning and the final code. It's a structured, almost expert-led workflow that's baked right into the AI itself. Okay, so the theory is super impressive, and the engineering is really clever. But does all this actually work in practice? Let's take a look at the results. And just as important, what kind of hardware do you actually need to run this thing? The results are, frankly, staggering. After that intensive data cleaning process, Optim showed a 20.7% jump in its ability to correctly formulate a problem. We're not talking about a small incremental bump here. That's a massive leap in accuracy. And it's proof that their data-first approach really paid off. And it's not just better than its old self. Microsoft's research shows that Optimi is now going toe-to-toe with the big guns, the closed-source, proprietary models like GPT-4o Mini, and it's holding its own on these very specific tasks. It just goes to show you how powerful a specialized, incredibly well-trained model can be. All right, now before anyone gets too carried away, we have to talk about the reality check. Microsoft is extremely clear about the risks here. This AI generates code that can be executed. That means you absolutely must run it in a secure, sandboxed environment. It is not meant for safety-critical decisions without an expert human in the loop, and you have to remember, it can still produce solutions that are just wrong or don't work. And yeah, this isn't a tool you're going to be running on your everyday laptop. To really get Optim to sing, you need some serious hardware. We're talking a professional-grade GPU with at least 32 gigs of VRAM, like an 8100 or H100. This is definitely aimed at businesses and researchers who have that kind of infrastructure. So, when you zoom out, what's the big takeaway? To me, Optim represents this really fascinating and important evolution for AI. We're seeing this clear shift away from models that just generate cool text and images and toward models that generate structured, logical, and truly actionable decisions. Ultimately, the real impact here is about democratization. For decades, this kind of high-level strategic optimization has been locked away, really only accessible to a handful of companies that could afford to have these elite experts on staff. A tool like Optim has the potential to put that incredible power into the hands of any team that really truly understands its own business problems. And that kind of leaves us with a pretty provocative question for the future, doesn't it? As these systems get more powerful, more reliable, and way easier to use, you have to start wondering, is the next strategist making the tough calls on logistics and resources and efficiency actually going to be an AI?